Transport union DETAWU fears job losses over the scrapping of e-tolls. The union, however, welcomed moves to abandon the controversial tolling system in Gauteng. The reaction comes after Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana announced last week that government will foot part of the bill for the South African National Roads Agency's 22.4 billion debt. For more on this, we are joined now for a discussion by Vusi Ntshangase, DETAWU General Secretary. Ntshangase, good evening and thank you very much for your time and joining us tonight here on In Focus. What do you suggest should happen? Because the Gauteng province are saying e-tolls are history, which means they will repurpose them in some kind of formal way.
Good evening, Pratabo, and evening to your viewers. Well, and thanks for the opportunity. We, first and foremost, would like to confirm that indeed we appreciate the recent policy shift by government in as far as the e-tolls is concerned. And you will know that there has been, for a prolonged period of time, concerted struggle efforts by the working class calling for the change of the policy funding position in as far as the e-tolls are concerned, and calling for a better funding model that will sustain the road maintenance and ensure that the user pay principle is not implemented in a manner it was introduced on the e-toll system. Though it is a belated move, but it's a move that we as a union that is organizing in Central as DETAWU, we fully appreciate and welcome. As we welcome it, though, we would want to send a caution to the leadership in government, both in the province of Gauteng and national, that whatever policy shift is introduced in as far as the funding in Central is concerned, should not lead to job losses, because it is not the fault of all the workers that works for Central and those that works for subsidiary companies that are contracting with Central, that the system was erroneously, was faultily introduced. So we would call upon government to find a sustainable funding model that will not tamper with the jobs in both Central and, like I'm saying, in the all other subsidiary companies. And there are various options of raising funds to ensure that the operations of Central continues as anticipated. And that includes the wealth tax that we as the working class and through SAF to our affiliates have consistently called for. And also the taxing of major companies such as banks, mines, and others to ensure that this system of road maintenance through Central does not collapse to a point that it leads to job losses. So we've made that call and we continue to do. And we would also want to indicate that we as an organization would oppose by any means any attempt, should it happen, that there are moves to reduce staff at Central and in the other companies that are doing business with Central.
So what do you make of the position at Treasury to say, well, as far as this freeway improvement project is concerned, National is washing his hands literally of the project, saying it's no longer now our concern. Province must then take care of the maintenance of these roads going forward. I don't think it's the operations of Central mostly that will be affected, because National will continue, I suppose, to fund Central. But it is the Gauteng freeway project itself that would be affected.
Well, we think it is an opportunistic move by the national government to wash its hands now when it is time to fund the project, when they've been fully involved from the inception, when they were hoping that the people of South Africa will religiously comply and pay for the country, for the e-tolls. We think that the national government has got a direct responsibility through Treasurer and the Minister of Finance to ensure that there is a clear policy position that it will ensure that there is sufficient and stable funding model that will keep Central afloat and that will keep the maintenance of the Gauteng roads, which most of them are national roads, in the condition that we would want them to be, in the condition that will allow the movement of goods to be freely as we would want it to be.
We're not going to find ourselves in a situation where once again residents of the Gauteng province are the ones who are going to have to foot the bill for this model that you are suggesting, which I'm thinking you're suggesting those who, for example, were employed to mend these e-tolls and to do the administration of it would be absorbed into SANRAL in some way, because obviously the countries are no longer going to be used for that.
That's what we are saying, Pratabo, that whatever funding model must ensure that those that were employed to maintain and ensure that the countries are up and running, they must not lose their employment as a result of this move. There is an alternative available to ensure that there is sufficient funding generated. And one amongst those is what I have just said, Thabo, that there must be an introduction of wealth tax. There must be a consideration in terms of policy move to ensure that companies who have been siphoning massive profits in the country, such as banks, mines, and other conglomerates, are made to fund for this project. Yeah. So it shouldn't be a problem to find money to run a SANRAL, including the maintenance of the system like it was before, if there is a commitment from government to do so. And that's what we are calling for.
So Panyaza, the Sufi Premier of Gauteng, saying the people of the province would need to come and sit around the table and decide what that model is going to be. So, Ntshangase, you're saying as DETAWU, you're going to say to the Premier, well, let the wealthy be taxed so that they can fund these things and pay for this debt that we need to pay part of, or 30% thereof, alongside Treasury.
Yes, of course, Pratabo. There has to be a funding model that is equitable in economic terms. What we mean about that is that those who are making huge profits by using the road, unlike myself and yourself, who drive through once in a while in the morning and in the afternoon, but there are those who are frequent users of the road through their trucks, through everything, including the major businesses in this country, who are contributing to the overuse of our infrastructure, including the roads, the Gauteng roads. So I think that the Premier would have spoken out of the hip now that the decision has been made, but there has not been a sufficient consultation and the proper application of minds on the best way forward now. But what we are saying, because our primary job as a union is to protect jobs on behalf of our members, is that whatever that is finally agreed upon as an alternative funding model should not tamper with the ability to sustain the existing workforce. And this policy shift should not drive workers to join the long queues of unemployment in South Africa. As we all know, that the unemployment in South Africa is at a crisis point. It's approaching 40%. So whatever that is done, it must take into consideration that no worker loses his or her employment as a result of the change of a policy direction that has been recently announced by the Minister.
General Secretary of DETAWU, Vusi Ntshangase, thank you tonight for your intervention.